The hard reality is, as history has displayed for us far too often, those with power will murder on an unimaginable scale to maintain and expand their monopoly of power. Now that those powers that be control nuclear arsenals and have proven the propensity to use them on civilian populations, it is childish beyond belief to expect humans will ever achieve freedom while those men of power live. When you add into the equation the fact that these powerful men possess underground bunker systems, including long-term seed storage, and they have openly published their desire to control or drastically reduce the human population, why would any clear-thinking adult entertain the notion that simply winning an election or drafting a new constitution or passing a law or repealing a law or demanding governments behave will stop these monsters or the beast that they serve? And it is nothing but sheer cowardice to accept some slight pacification of one kind or another while passing this slavery on to your children and grandchildren. In fact, over 250 million humans murdered by their own governments during the last century, that number does not include wars, could not have happened had our grandfathers and their grandfathers stood up and killed the state, rather than what they did, which was to take the same path used today by the current liberty movement and all those who attempt to make the state kinder, gentler, and more palatable to the mass.
You can't give me the right to be a human being. I'm fine with that right. Now you can keep me from having that if you've got all the policemen and all the jobs on your side.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another show of Spokanarchy. This is episode 5. I guess maybe take 5 is better than episode. I think maybe it's only the 4th one we've aired. Had a couple failures. I do have Simon with me again. Gerard failed miserably and had to be there for one of his offspring tonight instead of making us the priority. Just kidding. So tonight, I'm kind of going to let Simon do a lot of talking at the beginning. I didn't even tell him that, just throwing that out there for him. What tonight's show is about, just going to get right into it, I guess, is a show about education. I think we've talked about this before in one of our previous episodes, but I reluctantly got back onto Facebook recently so I could start searching for finding information about people that I'm trying to do some stories on. And while doing that, I had a bunch of notifications from a group I belong to in Spokane about opening up the schools from back when the mandates were on. And now there's a bunch more hot topics that they're talking about there. One of them, after the shooting in Uvalde, Texas, as they're talking, of course, about security in the schools. But not just like security for mass shootings and things like that. There has come to light locally here in Spokane recently in the past couple weeks that multiple districts in the area are apparently have unsafe bathrooms in, I believe, middle school and high schools. It's been reported, right? So the mass shooting thing, we'll cover that. I don't really need to get into that as far as explaining it. But as far as the bathrooms, it's my understanding they're finding... I think maybe the kids go in there and somebody has just maybe smoked some meth or done some drugs in there. I don't know if it's meth, whatever. Maybe someone's done some lines of coke, smoked a doobie in there. I don't really know what the drug of choice is. It really doesn't matter, honestly.
Right.
But there are reports that there have been needles left in the bathrooms, things like this. So there's a little bit more, not just with the shooting, but with this, there's an outcry, especially in the Spokane public schools, the Spokane district, because they don't have what's called a school resource officer. They have basically just security agents that aren't commissioned law enforcement officers. They do have special training, I guess, in dealing with kids, but they're not like law enforcement officers. They only have one of those, and that's their director of security. I actually have descriptions of all their security jobs. I'll post a link to those in the description of this. It's from a public records request I did, so I'll put that in there. But I invited, basically, I was in this conversation on that Facebook page, and I'm an anarchist and a voluntarist, so I was just kind of shooting down all their solutions to this were basically to have these the resource officers, which are accredited law enforcement agents that are fully trained, have weapons, all that in the schools. And I kind of just started questioning that, me and a few other people, and we got accused of not having any solutions, of only pointing out problems and jumping on the anti-police sentiment from recent years and not having solutions, even though I offered some. So I'm going to hand it over to Simon here because they heard enough of kind of my responses, and maybe, I guess first we need to identify, maybe if you could expand on this a little bit, just identify what the problem is with security from what I explained as far as the bathrooms, and maybe a little bit of your own opinion as far as the mass shootings, but I'll let you go ahead and take over since they've already heard most of my opinions.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, let's go with the bathrooms first of all. I mean, what do you do? Like, what, you gonna walk around with everybody, and everybody's gonna be handcuffed to a teacher pretty soon? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this stuff's gonna happen. I mean, and then we will always talk about this. Like, why is this happening? Like, it's just not like people just run around doing this stuff and like there's some trauma. So actually, for some kids, like, school is safer than at home. Think about that. So,
right.
I mean, we turned it into a babysitting, money sucking, basically unsafe place, right? So everybody recognizes it's unsafe. So stop sending your property there.
Right. I think that was one of the, I think sometimes when I comment on things like that, they get like, people think I'm just some like jerk or something like that, and I'm insensitive, but I pretty much said the same thing. Like, if you or your kid feels unsafe going to school, why are you sending them there? Like,
well,
to me, that's the very first thing. Like, whoa, wait a minute.
Well, whether you believe mainstream media or not, a majority of people are watching that. So the mainstream media is telling you your property is not safe in school, and then you want them to fix it instead of taking your own initiative and be like, why would I send them there? Oh, because I'm in debt, or I'm a single parent, or blah blah blah. The other many choices, but like, is it what you need to do, or do you want someone else to keep your property safe, or should you be keeping your property safe? Or
right?
I mean, it's a dilemma. Like,
totally.
And it's a kind of easy one. It's like you just grow up and bite the bullet, and bite the bullet. Sorry, it wasn't even meant to be like that. And sacrifice so your property's safe. I mean, that should be your main priority. Not government taking care of you. I mean, obviously they can't. They can't keep you safe. So put more people in there with guns and gun-free zones when whatever it is, like Chicago, St. Louis. I mean, those statistics we should be screaming about. But all of a sudden it's a school again, and everybody's up in arms. But not the everyday thing.
Totally. Well, and I think like one of the other issues is, so in this group, as soon as I started talking about not putting people with guns in there, then all of a sudden this is what happens with the two-party paradigm, is that there can't be like a third, fourth, fifth option. There's only two. And so if I say, well, I don't want these armed thugs that are trained to intimidate and bully people into coercing them into compliance, basically. Like then, you don't want guns in schools. And I didn't say that at all. Like, I actually responded exactly just saying, no, I think there should be no, like, if one person can take a gun to school, everybody should be able to take a gun to school. Whether it's a cop or a student or whatever, we should all be able to protect ourselves how we see fit.
Right. Yeah.
And
then the other thing with like the school shootings, it's like, it's a lot of it's contrived, and then it's like, well, he got these from over here or over there, and it's just like, all you're doing is making laws and taking like I guess, rights, whatever a right is. I don't even know. It's self-evident to me that you can own a gun, and I'm not running around shooting people with it. So let's take all the guns from everybody, but the people that don't care about laws get guns anyhow, anyway, and they don't care. So they're the only ones that are going to have the guns. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of an easy thing to look at. So it's a really another stupid argument. It's the exact same scenario we talked about, the place getting robbed. You're going to have to spend money for extra security.
Right. Well, I think so. As far as like actually trying to identify what the problem is, I think kind of you hit it on the head there. You said like it's time to like be responsible. You know, for like I told one of the people in this group, it's time to be responsible for our creation. Like if I created something, why am I asking someone else to take responsibility of it when it's off at some building that I sent it to? It being my child.
Yeah.
You know, like why am I? Force. Like I should say, okay, yes, I want my child to be educated. Do I do that myself, or okay, do I send my child off to someone else to be educated? Well, if I'm sending them off to someone else, then I better make sure I'm highly involved in knowing what's being taught and all that. And if I don't like it, I'm sorry, I'm not sending you anymore, and I'm not paying you anymore.
Totally.
So like the sacrifice is, we look at it in our society, we've been programmed by media and news, television, all this, that we sacrifice spending time with our kids and send them over here to be educated so that we can work and provide for them. Should be the opposite. Like we should be sacrificing all this work and providing all the extra stuff for them, providing only the necessary things and making sure we educate them. We sacrifice all that to make sure we educate them properly. But we're like, we're screwed up and sacrificing the wrong things.
Totally. And then we got to get to the bottom of like, what is education? What's important to everybody? What was the social engineering in it? Be a doctor, a lawyer, get good grades. You don't get good grades, you can't go to college, you won't make no money. Most of the people that make money didn't go to college.
Right. Well, and you know, even along those lines, you know, the ones that do go to college are in the jobs. Like, you know, I don't know, I think I've told you here before, when we look across from my house, you got these big houses up on the hillside.
Right,
like I tell my daughter, like, those ones have done the most dirty. Like, they have done the most dirty for the ruling class, and that's why they're rewarded, and they're up there. They got a lot of fiat currency to be able to buy all that stuff.
Could be, man.
I know it's not like 100% or whatever, but
right. But I mean, you've done something.
That's how you get rewarded. And then, you know, those are the ones too. Like I have a lot of really close friends like that they now, like you said, so they have so much invested in that they don't want to let it go. It's like everything.
There's no way. There's no way they're gonna let that go.
Right.
They're gonna ride that illusion wave, dude, till the day they die, dude.
Right. So I guess one last thing as far as identifying the problem before we move on to some solutions is I would just say we need to, as far as identifying problems, we need to like be able to strip our emotions out of this stuff. When I watch I try to separate myself from mainstream media, but when I watch it, especially with this Uvalde shooting, that's all it is appeals to emotion.
Right. I mean, which is like the hook, right, for the song.
Yeah,
they just hooked you, like kids. Like, come on. It is a problem, whether it's factually happening or it's a huge lie pushed upon the public.
Right.
No matter which scenario it is, it's a huge problem.
Right.
The other thing is, you know, it's a forced thing too to make your children go to school. I mean, they get truancies, the parents could get in trouble, the parents could go to jail over it. Like, okay, like serious? So why are they pushing so hard? Because we love you so much. It's because it's an indoctrination. So that's another thing that adults and parents are stuck at. Like, what's a force thing?
Right.
You know,
You bring up a good point there with that, man. So one of my friends, I haven't really talked to her for a while, but she's kind of low income. And when she talked about pulling her kid from school, especially during the COVID mandates, Spokane Public Schools literally sent her threats like, no, you have to send your child to school. Like, we're going to come get you.
Another dangerous place because of COVID or shootings. You guys, school is not safe.
Right. Well, and what's crazy though is if the same people, like not the same people, but someone like, let's say from Liberty Lake where I live, who is maybe more affluent and has the ability to pay for private education, when they're like, no, I'm pulling my kid from school, there's not a threat of, oh, we're going to come get your kid. Whereas Spokane Public Schools, they're like, oh, you're in a low income area. No, you ain't sending your kid to private school. We're coming to get you. You're sending your kid here.
Right.
So it's just, I hate to like bring that up, but this socioeconomic stuff is real. Like the divide is real. They prey upon people who cannot pay for things.
Oh yeah, we've been living in the Hunger Games for so long,
right?
And people don't realize it. And I asked them, like, well, how many ghettos you been to? 0. Yeah.
Right.
That's because that's District 12, dude, and you're in like 4, and you don't go back to 12. You might even be in 8. I don't even know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you don't go back down there. There's a reason why.
I think so. Like the other solution is, like I said, just to make sure we are identifying the problem. Like with these mass shootings, how can we move to any solutions and start talking about any solutions when you kind of alluded to it? I'm not going to really expand on it here because that's not what this show is about, but we haven't even been told the truth about what happened.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. Whether it's really happening or it's a big lie, that's a problem in general.
Right.
No matter which way you look at it, there is a problem.
Right. Well, and like when things are presented two ways as the truth, like I like to tell my dad, there can't be two truths. There's only one. So one of those is not true.
Or both are incorrect.
Yeah. That's true. You could have that. But like, they can't. You can't just accept them as like, well, okay, they're both right, or maybe they're both right. No, one of them has to be wrong at the very least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then like the bathroom thing, I guess what I've been trying to express in my views with this group is, I'm sorry, but if your child goes into a bathroom and there's a needle like on the sink or the toilet, it might not be something they like to look at. You might not like that your kid is around something that was just injected into someone's arm for drugs. You might not like any of that. But it's not actually dangerous to your child to walk into a bathroom and see a needle, or to maybe smell the remnants of some drugs that someone had previously just been in there.
Right.
I mean, that's what I heard on the radio, and that's why I say that about the needles, was like this guy talking about his daughter going in to Meade High School and seeing a needle or something like that in the bathroom. I'm just like, was the needle like, when she walked in, did it like jump up and start like shooting towards her or something like that? Like, I don't know. I've never seen a needle do that. Every time, like when I'm downtown, they just stay right where they are every time. Unless I kick it, then it moves.
Right.
But like, if I just like walk by it, it doesn't ever try to like jab into me. Like a little bit of heroin doesn't just go woo up into me or anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think we just need to teach our kids differently about like, so what would you say the same thing if it was a beer bottle? I mean, okay, same idea. It's a drug. It's not maybe an illicit drug, and a beer bottle could be just as dangerous. I mean, it could spring from the floor, break itself, and jab into someone. You know what I mean? Or just not trying to be a jerk. Just like, I mean, these are the like news presents it like a needle is a threat. It's not. We need to like actually really be logical and intellectually honest about these things.
It's all the same solution that we've always had. There's really nothing else to say. Grow up and figure the next move out then.
Right.
Like if you don't want your child going to this school that you think is dirty and crummy, then you got to move. You got to do something.
Right. Pull them out of school. Right. Or teach them like, hey, when you go into the bathroom, the needle is not like a candy or something. You know what I mean? Tell them, don't touch the needle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we move on to some solutions, I mean, our solutions to us are pretty easy, but so one of the big things is it was presented to me that we didn't present viable solutions. So I guess that means they don't think just pulling our kids from schools is viable. I don't know how it's not viable, but maybe we can just get into a little bit more of different things we can do. I'll read a little bit about one of the questions that was asked. But basically, before I get into solutions, I want to read a little something here about why someone like myself, I can't speak for Simon, but I would imagine he pretty much agrees with me on this, why I don't believe the solution involves government. And that doesn't mean that the solution involves like somehow going to battle with government and like trying to like overthrow them by force or anything like that. Just
never gonna happen anyways, bro.
Right? Right? Just means that I don't believe that's the way to handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, so on page 46 of the field manual there that I sent you, if you want to follow along, otherwise I'm just going to read it for everyone here. This is why I don't believe a solution can involve the state in any form or fashion. He says, the hard reality is, as history has displayed for us far too often, those with power will murder on an unimaginable scale to maintain and expand their monopoly of power. Now that those powers that be control nuclear arsenals and have proven the propensity to use them on civilian populations, it is childish beyond belief to expect humans will ever achieve freedom while those men of power live. When you add into the equation the fact that these powerful men possess underground bunker systems, including long-term seed storage, and they have openly published their desire to control or drastically reduce the human population, why would any clear-thinking adult entertain the notion that simply winning an election or drafting a new constitution or passing a law or repealing a law or demanding governments behave will stop these monsters or the beast that they serve? And it is nothing but sheer cowardice to accept some slight pacification of one kind or another while passing this slavery on to your children and grandchildren. In fact, over 250 million humans murdered by their own governments during the last century, that number does not include wars, could not have happened had our grandfathers and their grandfathers stood up and killed the state, rather than what they did, which was to take the same path used today by the current liberty movement and all those who attempt to make the state kinder, gentler, and more palatable to the masses.
Yeah, it's on.
Right. So, like,
that's by your government, right?
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's
why I don't believe in using the state as a solution. And the reason I say that is I just want to read this real quick before you go into your thoughts there. This is to it. Oh, no, I lost it. Here we go. Okay, so this is the comment. So I just said, hey, we do a show. If you guys want us to come up with solutions, leave your comments or questions here for us to come up with solutions from an anarchist or voluntarist point of view. And this one was asked, how do we move forward with education in our country? Not a country where the Constitution doesn't exist. We live in America. How do we work with the government we have here? So that's why I wanted to read that, because that was the one question I got from someone specifically.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead, man.
Well, I mean, that paragraph says it all. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you think in your mind that for some reason some super rich dudes are way smarter than you and get to write these things down on a piece of paper and hire these guys to come thump you on the head if you're not following that piece of paper? Like, I mean, what do you mean? Like the Constitution, we're America, our education, like it doesn't, like I can't even describe how that doesn't compute to like who cares about America, education? Let's look about people. Like look at your neighbor. Like are they doing okay? Like you're wasting your time on fallacies versus like interacting with other men and women that just want to like work and love their children and go play in the park.
Right.
Well, but we're not allowed to do that because we're running around for energy, materialism. You're watching your Netflix, whatever it is you're doing. You know you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You know it. And you hide behind a keyboard or other people to have solutions for you. That's
right.
That's the difference between an adult and a child. Adult figures it out and goes, wait, there's something wrong. I'm going to get mad, angry, I'm going to fight, and then it's like, ooh, that's a really big bear over there. And there's a lot of them. Well, I'm going to think of some other avenue to go around. Like,
right.
It's just adulthood, man. I cannot say this enough, and that paragraph explains it perfectly.
Right.
There's nothing else to say.
Right. Well, no, here he's got another one here that just kind of touches upon what you were just saying there. It says, childish thinking and obsolete methods may have served a purpose at some time, but one thing's clear. We've moved on, and childish thinking and obsolete methods are or should be dead. Once a thing dies, it must be disposed of quickly, or it will rot, stink, and spread disease. Thus, we must build the fires and throw the past into the flames, so that we may leave behind the pain and failures of days gone by and embrace the onslaught of challenges that the future brings.
That's totally what it is. Like, I mean, I don't want to be a failure. And then I'm like, I don't want to be a martyr either. Like, go die for like trying to yell and fight people. I'm like, I'm just going to go over here. And according to your stupid words on a piece of paper, I'm going to do some of this stuff just to notify you that I'm doing this. And when you come after me and Waco me, I'm going to be like, well, here's this file that said I could do this according to your rules.
Right.
Which, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, and, you know, I think it's really important to point out, too, so he goes on in this chapter to really point out that it's like a three-pronged approach that you really have to take to be effective. And he says, like, so all these things are important, but you have to have different goals in mind. Like, if you're going to go to a protest, don't do it thinking you're actually going to make a change, because a protest, really all it is, it's about attention, right? You're just out there going, hey, look at me, I got something to say. I mean, that's really what a protest is. I mean, I've been to plenty of them. I'm like, you know what I mean? So he says,
you know what a protest is? You're pro the test.
Right.
You
okay.
are the test.
Right. Okay.
The test.
Right. That makes sense. So, like, he basically says, you know, we have to have all these different things. Like, the reason there's a scorpion on the front of the book is he really explains it in this chapter that it's like the perfect mechanism for fighting, and it's like it doesn't actually use its brain the same way we do. It doesn't have a central nervous system, so everything reacts in different segments of its body. So its pinchers can actually work, like they don't work together. It's not like this, like this one, then this
individually, huh?
Yeah. So it sits there, you know, it talks about it sits here with this pincher and like distracts you over here, and then now I'm going to come get you over here, and while you're distracted by those, this other third thing is just going pop, you know, and nails you. So, like, it talks about, you know, maybe one of your pinchers is above ground activism. So you're over here. Maybe you do go to protest, but don't just like go to protest and think that the protest is making a difference. It's part of your overall strategy.
Right.
So, like,
yeah. And so if you want to protest, I would, make your signs big enough to be seen, and hopefully somewhere on mainstream news so somebody sees like, oh, is that what they call those things in the sky?
Right.
I don't know, something. But
right.
yes,
maybe,
like
maybe don't be like the groupthink when you go to a protest too. Like,
right.
You know, one of the things that drives me nuts when I go to them is you see all these signs that pretty much say the same thing, And I know at some groups, they actually get together like the night before and make the signs. And that's why, is because they're all like, is this group putting, like, what is a group do we want our message to be? No, man. I am me and you are you. Like, I mean, we can go as a group, but I have my own message. And like I said, that's what, to me, like, when you have individuals speaking out together, that's, I guess it's probably more scary, because then, like, as the state, how do they control you? When you're a group and you all have the same messaging, it's easy to like put your group in, oh, they're all racist or, you know, homophobic or whatever it is. It's, when you act as a group, it's easy to put you in a group, but when you don't, you know, so let's start thinking of these things. I'm saying this because there's a protest or a rally on June 18th in downtown Spokane, and I would imagine a lot of these people are going to try to be there because the whole idea is to push back against the left that's coming in and their agenda. So they're saying, like, the left supposedly doesn't like the church, so they're trying to say, like, oh, we're going to be out there. So, okay, you have an opportunity.
How about this? Just ignore them and go to church. Dude, right? I can't make this up. Like, what are you doing? Like, ignore them and go to church.
Right.
They go away. Like,
totally.
It's the famous, like, I tell everybody this one. It's the Nightmare on Elm Street. When you stop paying attention to it, you couldn't kill the girl at the end of the movie. It didn't exist. Because you didn't give it fuel. You're giving this fuel to, like, make it something that's really not. Like,
right. You know, moving on to, like, solutions. I guess that's to try to give people solutions from our point of view that are also, I guess, something that might be acceptable to a statist, that's someone that's still in the statist mindset, that we just have to have government, you know, it's got to be there. What does that look like, I guess? I mean, I know our solutions, like we said, stop sending your kids. Okay, that's for a statist too. Like, you just got to make that decision. Okay, is this good for my kid and my family for them to go to school? Do I need to figure out how to not do that, whether I got to make sacrifices somewhere else, I got to quit working a little bit, whatever it is.
Right.
You know, these are the issues. I guess real quick, I'll just throw out there, we do have another solution. And our solution, like I said, it doesn't mean we're, like, getting rid of the state necessarily. We're just not involving it in what we're doing. So I'm going to create it because I tried to share this link and I couldn't do it. So I'm going to create a new group on Telegram for, like, we're trying to create these education workshops this summer in Spokane. And there's a few of us involved, but none of us are educators. A couple of them don't even have kids, but they just are very concerned about education of our future generations.
Yeah.
So I'm going to post the link to this Telegram group, and anyone who's interested can join it and have conversations with us about how to educate our children. If you're a single mom, a single dad, and you don't think you can afford to make a living and stay home and educate your child, we're trying to find solutions for you too. We don't want people left out in the dark, but we need people to talk. We need people to come to the table with ideas that aren't, I want the coercive force of the state to convince you to do it my way, because that's not
right. And they're going to have to come up with what education is to. What do they think is important? Because if they're coming at it with, well, I want them to be doctors, lawyers, money, then they're missing the boat on education anyways.
Right. Well, I think judging from that group, the Spokane Schools group, there actually are a lot of comments of people saying, you know, that, hey, we want the education to be about reading, you know, arithmetic and science again. Think like actual things that matter, not like, how does Sally feel today? Does Tommy feel like a girl? You know, does Billy have multiple personality disorder, so we're calling him they? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I agree. We don't need that stuff in our classrooms. It's not for our classrooms. That's for if you have a child that's experiencing those issues, that's kind of a serious issue. It probably shouldn't be dealt with in school.
No, not at all. Yeah.
So another solution real quick, I'm pulling this up on the screen. I can share it with you real quick, Simon, but it's not like super important unless you just want to look at individuals. But so there's I'll throw the link to this website. This is just for the state of Washington. It's like a fiscal website where you can look up salaries of employees. And I'm going to share it with you, Simon. So I shared this in that Spokane schools group too, and it's actually created a big firestorm. One of the solutions is these administrators make insane amounts of money. So let me just pull up here. These are, Simon and I recently just found out about what I'm going to pull up on the screen here. Educational services districts. Like here, this is the one for the Spokane region, the northeastern part of Washington state. And I just want you to look here. So the top 16 people working here. I grant these people are basically all administrators. They don't actually see the kids or anything. They manage certain things, but they don't see any of them. The guy that we met, old Mike Dunn, I mean, he pulled in last year $262,000. What he pulled in. Never sees a kid or anything. He basically made sure that about a third of the oaths of office for the 59 districts he's supposed to oversee were done before we went there. You know what I mean? The first time we went there was like February 3rd, and
he didn't even know that the bonds were supposed to be filed there, supposedly, the first time we had a conversation. You make $200 and something thousand a year and you don't know your own job.
Right. Well,
and then Austin had them.
And they kind of, one of the guys kind of alluded to like, hey, this isn't something we come across every day. People worrying about these oaths and these things being filed like this. Okay, you know what? That's actually understandable. Just being a human, I can understand that. But instead of covering it up and telling us, like making me do a public records request, and then when really it should have been available, they didn't have to redact anything. It should have been available with us within a couple of days, but they made us wait almost a month to go in there. And then as we saw in that month, between the time I made the request and when we went there, about half of the ones that were filed got filed in that time.
Yeah.
So
there's some missing.
Right. And I mean, I'm making a video about that, but the point is, like, can't you just be honest? Like, just tell us, look, dude, I'm going to be honest. There's like none of them filed right now because it's not something we worry about. No one has, like this guy, he could say, I've been here for 10 years and no one has ever come in and asked for those. So it's not something I thought of.
Yeah, there's a bigger problem to this.
Right.
You're educating children to abide by laws, and we're a country of laws. You're not even following your own laws. And you're in education. Like that's a huge problem for me. Someone like me, I'm like, that's just wrong, period. Right. And then, like I said, we went to the police and it's done.
Right?
We look like the idiots for asking, like, how dare you ask us for this stuff?
Totally. No, we did. I'm trying to pull up real quick because so along those lines, not only these people are educating and they don't follow the laws, but they're also completely dishonest.
Yes.
Like trying to hide things from us. And then like the email, I'm trying to pull it up here real quick.
Yeah. Well, this example, when we went to the school board meeting, sit up there like men and women, get served like men and women, stop like, oh no, we're running out of the room and you can't serve us. We're hiding.
Right? Yeah, totally.
Like, dude, I just see children everywhere. You know what I mean? I'd rather actually hang out with real children the age than like adults because
totally.
I think some are dumber than their own kids.
For sure, man. All right, I got my emails pulled up here. I'm going to try to zoom in on this a little bit so everybody can read it a little bit better. That should help. So this is, you can't see this because I can't share it with you, Simon, but this is some emails I got back from the public records requests I did for the superintendent of Spokane Public Schools for his oath of office. So this was back on February 14th when I asked for this. So we must have gone to that Northeast Educational Services District about the 15th or 16th of February, I think. So it was right after this.
Yeah.
So on the 14th of February, they responded. Basically, I asked for the oaths of office of the school board members for Spokane schools and the superintendent. And they responded by, here's the ones for the board members. And then it says, please note, the superintendent is an employee of Spokane Public Schools and does not have an oath of office. Dr. Swinyard has a contract with the district. Please let us know if you would like a copy of the contract. I mean, right there, he does not have not have an oath of office. Right?
Flag violation.
Right? So let me see if I can pull up the RCW just so we can read it to everyone on the show here. Oath of office for
I don't even know how we got hip to this or even found the RCWs, but we did.
Well, it was Carol when we were filing the bond. This is the one that talks about what it is and how they have to file it. So yeah, right here, RCW 28A.330.060 is right here. Before entering upon the discharge of the superintendent's duties, the superintendent as secretary of the board shall give bond in such sum, blah, 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 about the bond. And then and shall take and subscribe an oath. So, and this is before entering upon the discharge of the superintendent's duties. She has to get the bond, and shall take and subscribe an oath or affirmation before a proper officer that he or she will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Washington and faithfully perform the duties of the office, a copy of which oath of affirmation shall be filed with the Educational Services District Superintendent. So that's where we went to. And so it's right there. It says they have to have it. They're saying he doesn't. And then now this was after March 15th, which was, I believe, about the time we went up there and actually confirmed it was there. I get this as another email from Spokane Public Schools Public Records Department. It says, subsequent to your request for a copy of Superintendent Swinyard's oath of office, we were made aware that there was an oath administered. So apparently he just forgot about it. He only started in 2020, in July of 2020. And this was February of 2022 when we brought this up. So in that year and a half, he forgot that he did administer one initially, and told us he didn't. And then, after we went up and verified, oh yeah, you do have to have this, then he's like, oh no, I forgot I did. We did do it.
Yeah. So then it was lost in the back room somewhere. We've got to dust it off.
Right. That's actually exactly what it says here. It says administered and signed at the July 15th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Directors of Spokane Public Schools. However, due to recent personnel changes, the original document could not be located. So we should do a records request of, so what personnel changes happened?
Right.
Because I bet they didn't happen. And then upon legal counsel's recommendation, the attached replacement oath of office was created. So that's what we verified when we went to the other office. We did see the it even said replacement on it. So this is the other tricky thing about transparency, people. The communications between the superintendent and the district's lawyers has client attorney privilege. So we don't, he can see whatever he wants. They're like, oh, I really screwed up, man. These people are after me. What do I do? And the lawyer says, don't worry, they can't read any of this. We'll come up with a great plan. We'll make it look like everything was just a big mistake. And none of us will ever know it, but the statists who just believe in the system, even though they don't like him and it's right there in front of their face, they're going to be like, well, no, they just lost it. Corey, they lost it, man. It's okay.
They were moving and, it just fell off the back of the truck. And
they hire such inept people at over $100,000 a year there,
Right. We lost
So-
important documents.
Right, we got a little sidetracked here, but this is just another reason why the solution cannot involve government, because they won't be honest with you and they won't just admit they made a mistake. They're not honest people. That's why they take their money is derived from sources that are stolen from people. That by nature, that makes you a dishonest person.
Oh yeah.
So, and I hate to, like, I know there's going to be teachers in this group that I'm going to be sharing this with that you guys are concerned about your profession. You should be concerned about your profession, but first and foremost, you need to understand every government official does. It doesn't matter whether you use force on people or not. Your pay is derived from money stolen from people.
That's right. Yep.
Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox off that now.
It's all right. This is a tough one for people to handle, but it's like, and nothing's done. Like nothing's done. We went, like we said, we went to the police and they had a detective, and then it's just like, whatever, dude. I don't even care that much. But all you people out there that love government and government's correct, go sue these people because they did wrong to you. You're the people.
Right.
You
So
guys
yeah, that's part of our solution, I guess we could offer. Since you and I have done this already, I can put in the description of this, and I'll even make another video of it, inviting people to do it with the case number and the detective's name.
Yeah.
Who was given the case number with the evidence. I mean, there is a criminal a misdemeanor, a gross misdemeanor for him holding office without taking the proper steps. And we presented all the evidence to the police. I was thrown out by force because I didn't want to give him my date of birth. and then we followed up. It was like 2 weeks later, right? And it hadn't been assigned. So
yeah,
if you
went
want a
back
solution and you think your government can be held accountable, and you want a solution, and you support the police and think they are for good, then I would suggest maybe you contact the Spokane Police Department, the detective, and ask him if he has started any investigation into Adam Swinyard, and if he hasn't, ask him why.
Yeah.
Because
we'll give you
anarchists.
We'll give you all the information. You go down and file your own report.
Yeah.
Because it's
it would
fraud.
be great
What
if
they
there
did
was
was fraud, and there's no stipulation or whatever. There's no limitations on fraud. So what they did was fraud. They committed fraud. So he needs to be fired. He needs to be jailed, and he needs to pay all that money back.
And just to point out too, we actually two districts that we did this with in Spokane neither of them had it done right. So the Central Valley School District, Ben Small, I believe, is the superintendent there. He did have his oath filed, actually. He's been the superintendent since 2008. But see, this is, again, how crooked they are. If you're filing your oath, then you must know you also have to acquire that bond. It's in the exact same RCW. And it even said in his oath that was filed, we're doing this because RCW blah, blah, blah requires it. Yeah, he didn't have an oath, or he didn't have a bond until we asked to see a copy of it. Like, literally, he got the bond the day after we asked to see the copy of it.
That's right.
So
don't worry about it.
2 of them didn't have just this simple thing correct. 2 out of 2.
Oh, no, the state attorney said it's going to be huge. It's okay. It's not a problem.
So my suggestion is, if you believe in the state and you believe that it can be fixed, here are 2 superintendents we have literally given you the keys to the car to drive them out of the office. One of them, granted, is retiring here very soon, Ben Small, I think the end of this year. But he can still be held accountable. He did not hold office correctly. He was basically until the last 3 or 4 months of his office, he did not have a bond. So that doesn't go away. The crime still happened, right? Like, he can still be prosecuted for that, and he should be, especially after abusing your children and forcing them to wear masks.
Yeah.
So yes, go after him. I am going to be speaking to another group here in Central Valley maybe next week, and hopefully we'll get some action with them. I'm just telling you, folks, we are a couple of anarchists. We don't want to fix the system. So if you're going to rely on us to hold these people accountable, it's not going to happen.
It's actually a perfectly well-oiled machine. You can't break it.
I would agree.
Yeah, it's too big now with too many different kind of weapons. Like it'd have to be fixed at the sword days or something like that.
Right.
But everybody. I mean, it was just force and force and force. It's like that book. Like there comes a point to where it's just like, God, are we not tired of this death-based system yet? Is anybody tired of it? It's crazy. Yes. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Very tired of it. All right, man. Well, do you have anything else for this evening?
No, just sorry. I probably offended a bunch of people. Feel bad, but reality.
Right. As I said in that Facebook page a couple of times, I'm not really interested in feelings anymore. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm trying to be honest. That's why I read that paragraph out of there. Is to me, that is the blatant, honest truth, boiled all the way down.
It's self-evident, really.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Self-evident.
You can decide to make or not make the sacrifice, but you can't really deny what I said there, or what he said. I didn't say it.
No,
I just read it.
Right.
So, anyways, links to everything we discussed. This book. The Facebook group is a private group. I guess maybe I can throw a link if people are in the area and they aren't in it and they want to join it, they can. But the fiscal stuff, the book, the RCW will include all those links. And I will also include a link to the new Telegram group for people interested in alternative education solutions. So we can really start discussing that. Hopefully we can get some teachers in there.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right, man. Well, have a good night.
Yeah.
Next time, we'll try to make sure Gerard is not a failure and he can join us. All right. Peace, man.
Later.
Thanks for watching this video. If you want to support this channel, I encourage you to do so outside of the centralized economy and utilize other modes of support. Basically, at this point, anything is better than any central bank-backed fiat currency. We have already been warned and told that system is failing and being replaced. So why continue to use it? Links for support are listed in the description of everything I put out. And until next time, keep living free, my friends.